Create content that attracts, converts, and keeps your ideal clients. This is Content Sells. Hi, you're listening to the Content Sells podcast, the show all about how to create content to attract, convert, and keep your ideal clients. Welcome to episode 173. I'm Suzi Dafnis, and here with me is my co-host, Michelle Falzon. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hey, Suzi, I'm doing very well in a particularly busy part of the year, but bringing a few large projects to the finish line over the next few weeks, thankfully, which is starting to get me excited about having some time off actually over the summer. It's been such a massive year.
It has been a huge year for a lot of people. We've done a lot of new things this year, and it does feel like it's been one project after the next. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about in today's show. And that is that when you are doing a lot of new things in your business, it can be really taxing. So while we do want to keep innovating and growing, and that it's part of our DNA as an organization, it's also, I think, important, and I keep learning this lesson, to realize the cost of doing something new. And that cost, as you know, Michelle, can come in the form of extra time and energy, and what extra time and energy doing something new takes. And it can take the form of the opportunity cost of not just doubling down and doing something again, but better. And instead of streamlining, actually starting from scratch. It can take the form of confusing your market or having them jumping around to the various things that you're offering versus them knowing you for one thing and that you're focused on one thing. And there's a real cost to your team as well, if you have a team, and that is the stress of creating from scratch. It just takes a whole lot of energy. And if I think about my own stress levels, and even, what the bank account looks like, it's not, new is not always better. New doesn't always get us a better result. And so whether you need new software or to pay someone to write some new material, or design new pages or resources or whatever, doing something new comes with a lot of moving parts. There's just always things to spend resources on: team energy, money, time, figuring stuff out, coming up with new messaging, figuring out if it's right for the ideal client. So many bits.
So many bits. It's so true. And, it's so difficult because I think so many of us are wired to innovate, to create. We feel happy when we're creating something new, but that we have to check that idea. We have to check ourselves, because if we let that idea run rampant, if we let that passion for just making something new run rampant, we can really burn ourselves out. We can really burn our team out. And I know even with a lot of the clients that I work with, I watch their teams when they are rinsing and repeating a program or an offer that they've done multiple times before. It gives you an opportunity to systemize things, to put operating procedures in place, to know how things go and to tweak and improve it and make it better next time. But if you're just always doing something new, everybody's always flying by the seat of their pants, and it can be really stressful. So the bright shiny isn't always bright and shiny. There's a dark, tarnished side to the bright shiny. We talk about this a little bit already. You'll notice this is a bit of a theme that we discuss all the time. But there's another episode that's kind of a sister episode to this. It's episode 160, Why Being Opportunistic is Costing You Opportunities. And that's talking more about, making the most of every opportunity that comes your way isn't always about taking every opportunity that comes your way. So what are we saying here? It is a balancing act. As Suzi said, growth and innovation is in her DNA. It's in her business DNA. It's in my DNA. It's so probably in your DNA as well. You want to continue to grow. So we do need to do some new stuff in our business. And a suggestion that I'll put forward, and something that I'm trying to really work on in my own work that I do and also with my clients, is to ultimately try and get to this idea of 80-20, the Pareto principle. It just seems to play out, Suzi, in so many parts of life. And it plays out here. So ideally, obviously when you're starting, you kind of are throwing spaghetti at the wall a little bit. You're trying a bunch of new things. But when you find something that works, you want to double down on it. You want to keep it. You want to build on it. But ultimately, what you want to get to is about 80% of your marketing activities and the products that you're offering being rinse and repeat, things that you do either annually or multiple times a year, or your spring promotion always kind of has these elements to it. So 80% rinse and repeat, and then just bringing in that 20% of something new. So if you do 5 promotions a year, how can you get 4 of them to be consistent year on year, and then do 1 new promotion rather than 5 new promotions? It's going to have everybody tearing their hair out. And so, I've had a situation like that with a big client of mine. They had this one program and this one big marketing event that they did 3 times a year. They just rinsed and repeated. They got so good at it. And their customers got so good at knowing that it was on and referring all their friends. So the repetition actually helped. It didn't hinder. Sometimes we think, oh, I've got to do something new because they've already seen that. And that's a real trap to fall into. So rinse and repeat doesn't mean nothing new. And Suzi, there's somebody we love talking about on this show, Fiona Keary, who is one of our masterminders. And she's a great example of somebody who's getting a lot of traction, bringing new thoughts to something that she just keeps rinsing and repeating.
Yes. We love Fiona Keary. Fiona has a business called Style Liberation, and she has a course and she has a membership. She has a fabulous Facebook group, and we've talked about all those things here on the show. But if you don't know her, basically she helps women 35 plus create a wardrobe full of clothes that they absolutely love. And so entry into her world is typically joining her Facebook group or downloading her guide. And then once you've done that and you're in her world, a couple of times a year, she'll let you know about her course that she opens up. And then after you've done that course, you become totally qualified and the best person to join her Super Styler membership. And so as we inside of Mastermind do, we have a quarterly focus, and every quarter each masterminder chooses a project that they're going to double down on. Fiona has coined this term of Project Broken Record because Fiona is always working on these same projects, but she's tweaking and optimizing and getting better and better results each time. And she's just come off the back of that, hasn't she, Michelle, with her latest launch?
She totally has. And it's this whole idea that rinse and repeat, or as Fiona has so beautifully said, Project Broken Record, doesn't mean nothing new. It just means you're doubling down and you're using that power of innovation to double down on this existing thing. And you're absolutely right. She's just finished a Super Styler launch for her membership. And it's something she's done multiple times. And each time she brings that power of innovation and makes tweaks and makes changes. Sometimes they're really successful, sometimes not so successful. This time she made a significant tweak to the approach, and she got 50% more people signing up than her goal target. So firstly, congratulations, Fiona. That is awesome. And she did it because she was able to do it because she's been rinsing and repeating this program. And so she can focus her mind on it. And she realized, hey, we've got a lot of people in our world who have had their colors done perhaps elsewhere. They don't have our particular color system, but they know roughly what their colors are. And so they realized that if they could target those women and do a special campaign and a focus and a training just for them, they're probably the people more likely. They've already demonstrated interest. They've already paid money, even with somebody else, to get their colors done. These are the people that are probably going to be the Super Styler ideal members. And so that's exactly what they did. They doubled down, creating this training that was all about helping people understand their colors. And it was an absolute smash hit. And like I said, she got 50% more than her target. Her membership now has I think it has almost exactly 250 people in it, and it's growing. And because she's adopted this Project Broken Record approach, guess what she's going to be promoting next time? And so she's found a way to attract her ideal customers. And it does take time, Suzi. It's not like you just come out of the gate with the perfect campaign.
You don't. It's very few who do. And I think that's a really good lesson for us to know that it does take time, because every campaign, whether we're running a challenge, whether we're promoting a course, whether we've got a new lead magnet, it takes time in the design, in the creation, in the marketing, in the delivery, often more time than we think. And so when we create something and then 3 months later we're creating something else, we've lost the momentum of that first lot of work that we did. But when it's already built, and we can start to tweak it. And like we just said with Fiona, she tried a different approach on what happens before she makes the offer. She worked on her webinar. Then it makes it so much easier to get leverage. But when we're changing it all up and we're starting from scratch, it is a lot of cycles of energy that are being outputted without leveraging what you've already done. And so this tweak that Fiona did, like next time, I don't know exactly what she'll do. I'll find out in a few weeks when I see her at our mastermind. But I have no doubt that she's going to go, okay, great. That webinar converted well for this offer. So now how do I get more people into that webinar? It's not like I wonder whether a different webinar would get a different result. No, it's like, how can I tweak this so that I get a better result? Is it getting more people on the webinar? What can I do on the webinar? Could my slides be slightly different? And they're things that Fiona is going to post into the mastermind group, and she's going to get support, and she's going to get feedback, and she's going to finesse. She's going to polish that thing up and put it out there again. On the flip side, new things are untested. They may go really well, but you might try something totally new because the last thing didn't work as well as you thought, and it turns out to be a total flop. Now what you've done is spent a whole lot of energy and got no output. So you want to take this idea of starting something new and really thinking it through. And like I said, we're all big for innovation. And PJ, my partner, always says he can't leave me and Michelle in a room for 5 minutes because we've created something new, right? We've gotten better though, haven't we? We've gotten better.
Have.
We double down. We double down and do things better. And like inside of her business, we did a few new things this year. Like we did a new online challenge called Find Your Focus. We've developed a new lead magnet that we just released in the last couple of weeks. We tried a couple of new events inside of the membership and a couple of bonuses. Every single one of those things took a lot of energy versus rinsing and repeating. So for the rest of our time, we were rinsing and repeating formulas we already know work. And I know I'm always tempted to tinker, but better to tinker with something that's existing that already works than to tinker with trying something, brand new. Because whether it's to name it or price it or describe it or make sure it's a good message to market match or make sure that the landing page copy is like, there's just so much. So we did some things again this year, but better. And we did some brand new things. But again, as I look into the new year, Michelle, I still feel like the new is going to be minimal. The rinse and repeat and do better is going to be the majority of the work.
Yeah, and people can sort of think, "Oh, that's so unsexy," but I also want to speak to that because one of the things that you did again, but better, was Her Business Live, which is a fantastic, amazing one-day event that you run for the Her Business community. And I really think like this was your third time, is that right? This year, the third time?
Yes, the second time virtual.
Yeah. So you've run it the third time, the first time in person, then 2 virtuals, and it just keeps getting better and better every time, and more people come along, right? Because the thing with doing things over and over is that word gets out. It's like we were just doing, our last episode was about our the mastermind experience. The first time we ran it, 20 people signed up. The second time, 40 people signed up, and we probably would have got more, but we had to close it off because we were at capacity. And it's the same, word gets out about how great Her Business Live is. People come one year and they put it on their calendar for the next year because they know how great it is. But if you're not doing that repetition, you're not giving your customers, your audience, the opportunity to come back or to refer their friends to you. So that's where the sexy part is.
Yeah.
If we can reorganize what we think is sexy.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good point. I remember doing a personal development course many, many years ago, and one of the principles they talked about that ruins people's lives is what they called a drama hook. People who become addicted to creating dramas in their life just to keep it spicy and interesting. And I feel like that's what happens when we're creating something new as well. It throws the drama in there. It's like, oh my gosh, I've got a deadline. I haven't done that sales page. Oh my gosh, I've got to write 20,000 emails. It just adds drama where there needn't be drama. And so I know that you have a saying that a mentor of yours said is about, making a lot of money is boring. We're not saying your business should be boring, but what we're saying is that it will be more rewarding when you can do a few things better, when you do less and obsess. And so choosing something new to fix each time, for me, that's exciting. So looking at that sales page and going, okay, so whatever, 20% of people signed up from that page last time. How could we take that to 25%? Or 70% of people who signed up for my challenge joined the group. How can I make that 75%? Because that's 5% more people who will then be able to hear about my offer. Or here's that sales page. You know what? Those testimonials are a little bit out of date. I have great news stories now. Or getting a new photo shoot done so that refreshes the page. They are low drama ways to inject into your marketing, but get a better result.
Yeah, I love it. It's such an important point. Yeah, we don't want the drama in things like that actually pay the bills. Like, we don't want to be riding that roller coaster of like, can I keep the doors open next month, or can I pay my team, or can I pay myself? Like, you want to have that core part of your business, the bread and butter, working away for you reliably. And that's saying that Suzi was just referring to is from a mentor of mine. And he says, making money is boring. Making a lot of money is really boring. And what he means by that is that you don't make a lot of money by constantly reinventing the wheel, by constantly taking giant risks to test new and crazy ideas. Have a few new and crazy ideas, but then have them that 80%, that core part of your business that you just know, if I just double down on this, if I got 20 people this time, can I get 40 people next time? And if I get 40 people next time, can I get 80 people the time after that? So I just want to encourage you to realize that the new doesn't have to be entirely creating new from scratch. That's expensive. That's risky. And you want a little bit of that. But the new and the sexy can happen in just what you're doing new, and in how you're doubling down and how you're improving those things that you are just rinsing and repeating. So have a think about, if there's just one thing you take from today's episode, have a think about what it is that you are presently doing that you can rinse and repeat in your business.
Because in that repetition, that is where the money is. That is where the upside is. But I want to say something. It's not about doing the same thing that's not working. You have to first know the right things to do. And that takes getting yourself educated, listening to the show, taking courses, getting a mentor, joining a mastermind. Because doing the same thing over and over, isn't that the definition of insanity? It's pointless rinsing and repeating something that's not working. And I do see people rinse and repeat things that aren't working, hoping to get a different result. And then I look at what they're doing and they're not moving forward each time they do something. They're stuck doing something that's not getting them any traction, but they just work harder doing the same thing that's not working. And so you really want to make sure you have solid foundations to build on. And I heard someone say this the other day. It's that, she was doing all the things. She was attending all the courses. She was downloading all the downloads. She was listening to all the podcasts, but she just hadn't put it together right. So the offer was never going to be profitable. That sales page was never going to convert. That ebook, no one was ever going to download, so there was no point throwing more Facebook dollars at it, more dollars at Facebook, until you know those pieces are working. And that's why Michelle and I are so committed to this show and to the programs that we do, is showing you how to fit the pieces together, showing you that it's not about the thing. It's never about the thing. It's about having the thing do the legwork, be the leverage for you. So you've got to find ways to change the offers that are not working. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do a webinar again because your webinar flopped. It could be that what was in that webinar, the offer you made, or the client that was attracted to it or not attracted to it, or the advertising you did. So you don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over if the thing isn't working. But if it's working, if you've got some results, if somebody said yes and they purchased, or enough people, and now you've got a small group that you're working with, that then now it's not about creating another new thing, like Michelle said. Just too much energy. It's like, how can I do this better? Where can I deliberately make a change to have this work better the next time?
It's such an important point, Suzi, because it's possible for somebody to hear this message and think, no, I'm not going to do anything new. I'm just going to do this one thing over and over again, and just kind of like keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. And so if you've got something that you think, look, I'm sure there's potential in what I'm doing, I just can't seem to crack it, that is absolutely the time to get help whether it's Suzi and I, or that's not the point. It's about find someone who's done what you're trying to do and get them to look at this thing you're doing at your webinar or at your sales page or at the conversations you're having with your customers when you do a sales call. And they will show you where to focus, where the areas of improvement are, where the fatal mistake you're making on your webinar is. Like I once had somebody say to me, Michelle, I can't understand why my webinar's not converting. And he sent me his slides, and it was like, there was like 200 slides in this thing. And the last 2 were about his offer. You know, it was like,
there's a clue.
Hello, I think there might be something in this. And so people can shine the light in where those gaps are. So it's, if you can't see those gaps yourself, find others around you who can help you to see those gaps. And I wanted to, just as you were talking, it reminded me of another guest that we've had on the show, Marisa Murgatroyd, who do check out the episode we did with her. It was episode 140, online courses as experiences. She's great at kind of helping people create experiences. She's a master at getting people to complete courses. You know, a lot of people just start a course and abandon it. So she knows a few things about rinsing and repeating and making progress and getting over objections and obstacles. And she's got this great idea that she talks about. She talks about the iteration cycle versus the stuck cycle. And I love this idea of iterating, these small tweaks and changes that over time add up to be something big, which is kind of what we've been talking about on today's show. And she says the iteration cycle is where you have an idea and you take action on that idea. And then that action taking gives you greater clarity. Like you see, oh, that part worked, but that part didn't. And that then puts you into some more momentum, right? Because, oh, okay, I can fix that, I can do that. And then that in turn leads to better ideas, which leads to more action, which leads to more clarity, which leads to more momentum. You know, it becomes this very virtuous cycle of iteration versus the stuck cycle, which is where you have an idea, you proceed to overanalyze it.
I don't know why I'm laughing so hard.
It has you feeling stuck. It's a total loss of momentum, which leads to going around and around the same circle, the same idea for a very long time. And I think that really is kind of what we're talking about. It's not about just staying in the stuck cycle. It's moving to what Marisa calls the iteration cycle, making these changes that keep moving you forward.
I love that concept.
It's great, isn't it? She's a smart cookie.
Very, very good. Very smart. So again, it pains me, but success isn't the fact that you haven't got a membership. Success isn't that you haven't tried that sort of lead magnet. It's likely something that you're doing or not doing. But here's the thing. It's like, what are you doing that you can build on? And if you've done the foundational work, if you've been a listener of this show for any time, you'll hear us talk about ideal client, really understanding the ideal client and their pain points, creating an offer that sells and really crafting an offer, figuring out how you get people up that mountain. You know, in 173 episodes, we've gone over these things again and again. And if you're doing all those things, likely you're starting to see some results, just like we did in the program. We just finished up a few weeks back, the mastermind experience, just like we see inside of our mastermind. What often happens is people quit early. Right? They quit early. They think, oh, webinars don't work. I'm going to try challenges. Challenges don't work. I really need a podcast, or I really need that. And it's just getting yourself into a twist. It's really just more energy out. And so I really want you to consider, what could you do less and obsess about? Not quitting too early, but knowing when you know, and you know when something is a seed of a great campaign, but maybe you just haven't cracked it yet. Sometimes it's just not all connected, or you don't quite know how to put it together in the way that works. And like Michelle said, maybe we're the people to help you, maybe we're not, but find someone who can. Make sure that your landing page is going to convert, that your lead generation activity matches the leads that you're trying to generate, that the messaging really does convey the pain or problem that you solve, that the offer stands apart from the competition. And getting these things working right is a process that we deliver about inside the mastermind program. But right now, you can't get inside the mastermind program. So there's almost no point in me telling you that, other than if you want to join the wait list. But it is about getting the pieces to work together rather than throwing it all away and starting from scratch.
Yeah, look, I hope if you're listening to this, we're kind of wrapping up this episode, and that you're feeling more inspired than demotivated, because it is so inspiring. It is such a relief to think, God, I do not have to create 50 new things this year. I can just double down on what I'm doing. And so, my advice, our encouragement to you is to take this 80-20 approach that I was talking about earlier. Find how can you, if you can't do it this year, if you're thinking, gosh, I'm still trialing a whole bunch of things, that's fine. Know the game you're playing this year is some experimentation, but don't get hooked on that. Don't get hooked on the drama and the endorphin hit of always having something new. When you find something that works, go, right, that works. I'm doubling down on that. I'm going to do that again. And I'm going to innovate. I'm going to get into that iteration cycle on this. And then you find something else that works. You go, right, I'm adding that to my iteration cycle. And eventually what you want to get to is that 80%, that core solid foundation of your business that's making you money, that's delivering the outcomes that you want for your customers, that your team knows how to deliver on. 80% is rinse and repeat. And then you get that 20% of innovation, that one brilliant idea that can transform your business next year may still be the perfect thing to introduce your one new thing this year. So we're not saying it's not about bringing in new ideas. It's not about innovating. It's just about being really selective and strategic about that innovation rather than just being like a scattergun of innovation that's just going to exhaust your bank account and potentially exhaust your audience as well.
Absolutely. That is what we have for you in today's episode. In a moment, we're going to let you know what's coming up in the next episode of the show. But before we do that, I want to thank one of our listeners, Penelope Bell, for sharing these words. She says, I've binge listened to almost all your podcasts and have implemented so many of your tips. You make complete sense to me and I don't feel overwhelmed by the content. Thank you so much, Penelope. Thank you so much for listening. And if, like Penelope, you've enjoyed the show, we would love it if you would leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. We have over 91 5-star reviews, and we would love your input as well. It makes a big difference because when people go looking for a show, they're looking for support with their small business. If they come across the show and they see your review, it might just be the thing that helps them click play and get that little gold nugget that they've been waiting for. Now, we have mentioned several resources and episodes on today's show, and we've made it easy for you to access all those goodies by putting all the details, including a couple of those great episodes that Michelle mentioned that are previous episodes. You'll find links to those over on our website at herbusiness.com/cost of new. herbusiness.com/cost of new, all one word. Michelle, what do we have coming up in the next episode?
Oh, we've got a goodie coming, and I know I always say that, but it's a goodie. And Suzi, this is something that has been inspired by something that you have introduced to your process, the way you kind of schedule your time, and that is this idea of creating a clear week. And so we're going to learn, what is this thing called a clear week and how is Suzi doing it? What sort of an impact is it having on her? And we're also going to talk about other ways we can create space in our working weeks, working months, or working years to do the deep work. And, pretty much like what we're saying today, that deep thinking that has you go, you know what, that's a winning idea. I'm going to double down on that. That's some deep work, going onto a funnel and optimizing it and making it better. And so whether it's creating something new, whether it's doubling down on something that you're already doing, whether it's just taking some time to get some really deep perspective on your business and what you're offering, we're going to talk about how you can create more space for that in your life and in your business in the next episode.
That is coming up 2 weeks from now. So if you don't already subscribe to the show, go ahead and click that subscribe button wherever you're listening. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time with that new episode. Michelle, anything you'd like to say before we go today?
Just don't feel bad about cutting stuff out of your calendar. If you've got 5 ideas for marketing this year and you've just heard this episode and you go, oh my gosh, I don't need to do all of this, let it go. It's okay. The space that you create gives room for those other things that are really working to truly flourish.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time right here on the Content Sales Podcast. Bye for now.